Hey there guys, the PC Guy here with the news in tech and gaming for the week. This week the highlight, well, it's been mostly kind of a drama thing, but the highlight has been Userbenchmark adjusting their scores on how they rate CPUs. If you're not aware, Userbenchmark is a site that compares one part to another. Well, they kind of cover all the parts because their benchmarks are user submitted, and well, because of that, they have a multitude of comparisons available. You can compare literally any part to any other part, and they are at the top of the search engine. So if you search, for example, 9700K versus 9900K, you will probably hit a Userbenchmark page of the comparison. And it is a page that most people that are not super into tech but still want to compare their parts utilize to decide what they are going to buy. Now, what has happened is that they CPU wise, they compare them based on single target, single core, multi core, and quad core performance. They have adjusted those weights to favor more single core because they say that Ryzen is performing too well on those scores, and well, according to them, it's not realistic. Now, this has been mostly seen as a move specifically targeted to favor Intel in this comparison. Hardware Unboxed did a very good video on this. I invite you all to check it out and check their reasoning as to why this is basically pandering to Intel, but their argument is that single core is more important, so they're increasing the weight. While what we are seeing in the real world is that things are more and more utilizing several cores as opposed to one, so it would make sense to favor multi-core. Well, not as much as single core, but not to lower the score in any case, keep it the same or even increase it a little bit. However, this would push Ryzen CPUs even further above Intel's, and as it is, with the previous score that they used, the 3900X was above the 9900K, and now the 9900K is again on top on the list of the CPUs that perform better, according to that score. So this is seen as a move pandering to Intel. Well, if they have been paid for it or not, I have no idea, and I'm not going to accuse them of that either, but it definitely favors Intel when the previous metrics were not really favoring to them. So it is a bit of a contention point, and a lot of people are not happy about it. I do think it is a shady move as well. But, well, if you are a tech enthusiast, I do not advise you to use Usage Benchmark to begin with. There are a lot of more better made, more thought out reviews out there that you can consult. Uh, Hardware Unboxed, Gamers Nexus, a lot of other tech reviewers out there do a lot of a better job at reviewing their CPUs than Userbenchmark does, so I would not advise you to use it anyway. The Swedish website MediaMarkt has put the PS5 for pre-order. It is now pre-ordering at 9. Well, you can see how much it is. It is in the Swedish currency, but it kind of translates to roughly 1,000 euros. This has obviously given people quite a bit of a shock because, well, that is more than double the price of the current PS4. However, this is not expected to be the launch price. New PS5 has no launch date or anything of the sort yet. This is most likely a placeholder for people to pre-order already, and the price difference will probably be refunded to people who do pre-order it now. Just means that these people will get it first. However, we do expect the PS5 to be slightly more, well, at least slightly more expensive than the PS4, considering all the upgrades that it has in comparison to the old version. It will be including an SSD, it will be including new Zen 2 processors, it will be including 7nm graphics solutions as well, so it is expected to be probably a bit more pricey than PS4 was. However, 1,000 euros is probably way more than it will be, so do not get shocked by the price. It is most likely a placeholder. AMD just has had an earnings call, which means that we do get a little bit more insider information that they are obliged to share with their investors, and those calls are in turn released to the public as well. We have had few insights on their income. It is not amazing. The earnings have not gone up as much as you would expect from their rise in sales. However, this can largely be attributed to the graphics card side of the business, which, as you can expect, is not doing amazingly well. The new graphics cards based on Navi or RDNA architecture have just launched, so they are most likely not included in this earnings call yet. So you will not see any sales from that on that earnings call. And the previous generation, let's face it, they had nothing so far, so their sales are basically zero. Well, not zero obviously, but they cannot really be expected to lift up the costs at that point. With all the development costs going into the new Zen 2 and 7nm graphics card with RDNA, probably brought their profit margins down, as well as the Ryzen CPUs having just launched and still being unattainable in a lot of countries. I have friends that are waiting for the 3900X and it's still on pre-order. It's not crazy that they have not had a crazy amount of profit so far. We'll see at the next earnings call if it actually changes, but in any case, we did get a few information pieces from that earnings call, nothing very specific, but they do seem to be inclined to telling their investors that they do have solutions planned for the graphics card segment to compete at the higher end. We are obviously not sure when that is going to be, probably short-ish term, as in 6 months to a year. I am expecting them to have a bit of a graphics card lineup that is above the 5700X XT. So hopefully that will be on par or better than the 2080 or 2080 Ti. We'll have to wait and see, and there is also obviously no information on the pricing so far. It's also interesting to kind of speculate when the RTX, well, let's call it 3000 lineup, could be 3000, could be 2100 something, is going to be coming out. With the news that AMD is on track to release higher end CPUs, you kind of expect Nvidia to have an answer to that. Hopefully they will be a bit more impressive than the 20 series was, because in terms of price per performance, especially as far as traditional rasterized games go without ray tracing involved, the price per performance was very, very bad compared to the previous generation. It was not a very massive improvement in performance, and the increase in price was quite sizable. There, I have seen some rumors like chit chat that they are preparing them for next year or for not very long from now, but we have seen nothing so far. No announcements, no leaks, nothing really concrete. So as far as that goes, who knows when it will come. As far as AMD's side of the story, we have seen copyright patents being filed for the numbers 5800 and 5900. So that could possibly be perhaps in the shorter term. However, considering there were also no real leaks, announcements, anything, it could be at the very least. I do not. I personally, this is a very personal opinion, no, not based on any other information I have seen. I don't expect them to be here within the next, at the very least, like 6 months. I have to wait and see. Perhaps at the CES 2020, which is in January, we'll have some information about that, or even perhaps an announcement or a launch soon after. But this is literally just all speculation. We'll have to see how far AMD goes with their development and how far they are already and when they are ready to release. And after that, how good they actually are. They are supposed to have ray tracing already from the little chit chats that I have read lately, but again, no idea if they will have actual specialized hardware like the RT cores on NVIDIA side, or if it will be a software-based solution. We'll have to see how the performance goes, how the price goes as well, because I do hope that they bring the price down a little bit compared to the 2080 Ti that we are seeing that still goes for 11 or 1200 euros or dollars. So hopefully that improves a bit in the future as well. Some very curious tech enthusiasts have uncovered that NVIDIA can turn their graphics cards from one into the other. This means that with a BIOS flash, they are turning cards, for example, like the 2070, they can turn them literally into a 2060 Super. So this means that, well, the 2080 also can be turned into 2070 Super, and this is most likely being used by the companies to turn their excess stock into new stock of the new graphics cards. So if you have, for example, 2080 Super that you have lying around on your shelves, if you are a business, it's not going to sell because the 2080 Super is out. So you can turn it into a 2070 Super and sell it at that price point, and you're not sitting on the inventory like that will not get sold. This, however, also opens the doors to some people speculating that you can turn, for example, your 2070 Super with a BIOS flash into a 2080. I have, to be honest, I have not really dug into the issue very deeply, so I'm not sure how possible that is. I find it a bit strange to believe that, because turning a higher graphics card into a lower, like a 2080, into a 2070 Super, you probably involves disabling some of the features, disabling some cores or whatever, scaling it up to the next tier. If your card has, I'm just spitballing numbers here. If your card has, if it a 2070 Super would have, for example, 50 RT cores, if you're going to turn it into 2080, which would have 60 RT cores. Again, this is just numbers off the top of my head. They're probably not accurate. Flashing the BIOS is not going to magically spawn those 10 cores out of nowhere. It's easier to disable the cores because the other card uses less than to enable cores that are not there, obviously. So I am just, this is just speculation. I have not researched this. I have not researched how this works or how many cores each card has and all this sort of stuff. But I do think that could be a bit more difficult. Not to say it would not be possible to adjust other things via bias flashback that would increase performance, but I doubt you would get the full-on performance of a 2080. In any case, it is interesting to know that they can do this and that this probably will be going on with their excess inventory. A graphics researcher and an expert in ray tracing, which has, well, worked with NVIDIA in the past, so he might be a bit biased, he seems to claim that, according to his predictions, by 2023, the RTX lineup, or let's say any equivalent that NVIDIA or Intel might have at that point, should probably be the baseline, the minimum requirement to play most AAA games. So, according to his predictions, by 2023, most games will be requiring ray tracing. It is difficult to say if that's going to pan out or not. As I said, he has worked with NVIDIA. He's a graphics field expert in ray tracing specifically, so it's a bit of a biased opinion. Obviously, he's pushing ray tracing, but it is feasible that that could happen. This is the first generation on ray tracing that we have seen on graphics card, real-time ray tracing, I mean. So obviously the performance is not as great as it will be in the future with optimized architectures and hardware for the ray tracing itself. It could possibly, very possibly, that within a generation or two, NVIDIA's ray tracing capabilities and or AMD's and Intel's will be able to push that sort of computation at higher frame rates than they do right now. You cannot really play at high FPS on ultra settings with ray tracing on at this point, even with a 2080 Ti. In a generation or two, that could well be optimized to be possible. If that is the case, you would probably see a lot more adoption from the developers in implementing ray tracing in their games. However, developers also do not want to shut off people that have lower end graphics cards from playing their games because that would hurt their sales, obviously. And a lot of people, and we tend to forget that in the tech world, as far as enthusiasts go, we tend to forget that not everyone is sporting high-end gear and not everyone replaces the graphics cards every year or two. I do know a lot of people that are still rocking graphics cards from like 6, 7 years ago. So by 2023, those people might well be playing still on just as an example, on a GTX 960, 970, or a 1060 or 1070. That is very possible. So will the developers really want to shut those people off that from potentially buying their game because they cannot play it? Probably not. So I would take this prediction with a grain of salt. This is not strictly tech or gaming related, but it is related to YouTube, which is where I have my content. And well, YouTube has in the past had several bouts with their creators. There's been a lot of issues always in regards of demonetization of their content, even when sometimes there's no real reason for that, as well as other issues like the so-called adpocalypse that we have been seeing in the past, as well as, well, YouTube basically favoring their advertisers that buy their advertisements to put on the videos and not really backing their content creators as far as, well, supporting them and giving them a real work security, let's call it, because it's a new field. It's difficult to have legislation for that when it's a worldwide a worldwide business, really. You can have content creators from all over the place, and I do get it that it is difficult to have rules that apply to everyone and conform to the national standards. But in any case, a number of YouTubers are trying to start a YouTuber union. It is going by the name of FairTube, and it's supposed to help give the creators a bit more strength in their relationship with YouTube and trying to get them a bit more rights and support and security and, well, to basically not being treated like they have been treated so far. Needless to say, my channel is too small to worry about such things. This is not a full-time YouTube channel for me. I do not even get paid at all, so the monetization is not an issue because my channel is not even monetized. But I do approve of trying to get a bit more backing behind the creators and give them a little bit more strength. Because if the channel ever goes to that point, I would hate to just have that channel demonetized or shut down or whatever for basically no reason at all. And this is something that has happened in the past. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in it, but if you follow, for example, Bitwit, also another very known tech YouTuber, he has had a lot of trouble a few months ago with a bigger company that he ran into with copyright issues because he criticized one of the videos. So that's definitely a good thing to have this sort of backing behind YouTubers. Now, these have been the highlights of the week. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. I'll see you guys next week. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed these news segments, and I'll see you later.